The Path to the Throne of God by Sarah Peck. Preface. The accompanying study of the sanctuary aims to give the reader an overall view of the entire sanctuary, including the earthly and the heavenly sanctuary, and reaching its climax in the temple eternal. The earthly model is constructed by Moses, being a type or illustration of both the others. It also aims to make plain that the sanctuary symbolizes not only the redemptive work of Christ, but also the Christian experience of each of his followers, and of the church as a whole. The book of Exodus, wherein the sanctuary building is described in minute and careful detail, is the foundation of this study, an understanding of which is essential to full and correct comprehension of the sanctuary. In this presentation, the logical order has been followed, taking the court, the holy place, and the most holy place in their divinely revealed and natural sequence. Following the sequence, the work of Christ as Redeemer is traced, when at his birth he entered the court of earth to give his life as a sacrifice for the sins of the world. When at his ascension he entered the holy place of the heavenly sanctuary to act as high priest. When in 1844, at the end of 2,300 days, he entered the most holy place as judge to begin the investigative judgment of the house of God. When this judgment closes at the beginning of the 1,000 years, he comes as the bridegroom to receive his bride, the redeemed, and take them to the mansions he has prepared for them. And finally, when at the close of the 1,000 years he returns to this earth to cleanse it from sin and sinners, and create a new heaven and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. All this and more is symbolized in the sanctuary as herein presented. In the same sequence is traced the individual's Christian experience as he moved forward on the path to the throne of God. Here the sanctuary is shown to illustrate reconciliation and justification in the court, where by faith he receives his imputed righteousness, sanctification in the holy place, where as the result of a lifelong experience he by faith gains imparted righteousness, glorification in the most holy place, where he receives his reward, eternal righteousness. Likewise, this study aims to show that the sanctuary illustrates the 4 generations of the church as a whole. First, the church of the court of the Hebrew church, the first church organized on earth when at Sinai God, through Christ, spoke as his law to Israel on the Sabbath. Second, the church of the holy place, the Christian church, also founded on the Sabbath, when at Christ's ascension inauguration, God gave the Holy Spirit, Christ's representative, to abide with them forever. Third, the church of the most holy place, the remnant church, the last church on earth, which began in 1844, having the truth regarding the sanctuary and the Sabbath as its 2 foundation pillars, which was divinely revealed to the believers. Fourth, the church of the firstborn, the church of the temple eternal, which begins as the second coming of Christ, and throughout eternity meets for worship around the throne from one Sabbath to another. Thus the Sabbath, being the great underlying truth on which every generation of the church is based, furnishes a key to the instruction that in these closing days of the church on earth, God's messengers are to proclaim the Sabbath more fully. The writer is persuaded that the spiritual significance of all parts of the sanctuary as herein presented will appeal to all classes of religious people, to the Jews because, first, unto them were committed the oracles of God, Romans chapter 3, verse 2, as given to the sanctuary to Catholic Christians, because the priesthood permeates all its parts and services, to Protestant Christians, because the everlasting gospel is the keynote of the sanctuary, and even to the heathen, because in practically all, if not all heathen worship, there still remain traces of this divine object lesson. Although the approach to this subject is different from any that has yet been published, no effort has been made to present new truth that would make the old obsolete, but instead that which will illuminate the old and help the reader to see new beauty in it, and revive in the minds of Bible students and Christian people generally truths that have long remained dormant, perhaps because so many excellent books dealing with this subject are no longer obtainable. Lectures illustrated by a replica model of the sanctuary constructed by Moses have frequently been given by the writers in college, schools of lower grade, churches, sanitariums, and elsewhere, and so many college students, church members, and gospel workers have requested written copies of these lectures that it has been deemed advisable to make them available in printed form. In doing this, every effort has been made to make the Scriptures the infallible guide, so that the result might be as nearly perfect as is humanly possible. Nevertheless, it is recognized that while all the books written on this subject have been definitely helpful, none have yet appeared in which every single statement met the full approval of every reader, and this book will doubtless be no exception to the rule. But if it will make more clear and beautiful and practically helpful some of the most fundamental truths of the gospel of salvation as symbolized in the sanctuary, truths vital to all, and especially to those who are looking for the soon coming of Him who is the antitype of the sanctuary, if it will help the reader to walk with greater joy and assurance on the path to the throne of God, the author's purpose will have been accomplished. As the reader meditates on the spiritual truths with which the sanctuary abounds, he will surely have a deeper appreciation of the magnitude, the beauty, and the richness of the plan of redemption, as symbolized in this, God's great object lesson, and it is hoped that as he reaches the end of the path to the throne of God, he will stand with all the redeemed around the throne, and join in the mighty chorus of the Song of Moses and the Lamb. The Author.